Hey folks, how you doing out there? Welcome to another Drink in a Week Peotober feature. Today we're going to talk about Ardbeg. Sorry if you saw a few false starts there. It seemed like Facebook was having a little bit of an issue. We're going to talk about Ardbeg, one of my favorites, a lot of people's favorites, peated Islay single malt Scotch whiskeys. Boy, this is a perfect day for it weather-wise here in Chicago. Really just kind of overcast, a little bit rainy the whole day. It's perfect, right, Michelle? This weather, it's definitely a peat whiskey kind of day. I'm going to bring you a couple of them. We're going to bring you the very well, I don't want to say standard because it's kind of an exemplary product, but everyone's favorite, the Ardbeg 10. It's the kind of their standard in their core range, and I'm going to bring you a newer development called the Wee Beastie, coming in at 5 years old. It is really a heavy peat time around here. I got some peaty whiskeys for my birthday, and I also I've been reading a book on whiskey, and I bought this nice little book, Whiskey Legends of Islay. This is going to be talking all about peated whiskey. It just came in the mail today. I ordered it. Kind of cool. Kind of an old school book. It's been around a little bit. Reprinted with minor changes in 2012, but it's going to be a fascinating read. I always like doing this. Maybe I'll find time and a place where I can sit and read this for a little while and enjoy a dram. Looking forward to reading that. Okay, that was recommended. Yeah, when I don't drink whiskey, I read about whiskey. So, other than music and family stuff, you know, it's my current passion. Anyway, let's talk about whiskey a little bit. So we've been talking about peated whiskey. I've been bringing you some infamous ones that are very well known. Then I try to bring you one that are maybe just a little bit under the radar. We've talked about two of what I consider, no, sorry, we've only talked about one of what I consider the big three for me of peated whiskeys that come off of the island of Islay. That's how we say that, okay? Not Islay, not Islay. Islay, all right? We've talked about Lagavulin, which has been around for a long time, or in the zeitgeist of peated whiskey. And we've also talked about, wait, did I just say Lagavulin? Okay, sorry, Lagavulin and Laphroaig, both of those. We have not talked about Lagavulin yet. That's coming. We talked about Laphroaig, and Lagavulin is coming. Maybe third in terms of notoriety in like I said, in kind of culture, is Ardbeg. In terms of whiskey fans, I would say pretty significantly right now that if you're talking about those three big companies, Ardbeg is the most favored over Laphroaig and Lagavulin, actually. Lagavulin partially, for not so much flavor, but kind of marketing and these incredibly huge price jumps that happened with Ardbeg being a D&aW product, and Laphroaig kind of changing maybe their structure and having a lot of no age statements and things that are a little bit harder to kind of pin down, and adding maybe too many different varieties. Ardbeg, which is, there's no shortage of interesting varieties from Ardbeg these days too, has kind of been the one that maybe is perceived to be the most quality bang for the buck and maybe just preferred taste. I'll let you know a little bit about it. Ardbeg, some of this I'm just reading. Ardbeg has been producing whiskey since 1798 and began commercial production in 1815. Okay, I have no friends that were around that early, but there you go. Went through in and out of control like many whiskeys that are around that long of time. They spent a good portion of their time making whiskey for blended Scotch whiskey. All right. They've gone through some changes in terms of ownership. In 1970, it was bought by and reopened because it was closed for a while in '79 when Hiram Walker took over it. It was bought and reopened by the Glenmorangie Company. Now we've talked about that on the unpeated space side many times. Glenmorangie bought them in, what did I just say, 1979. And then that ownership has been more recently turned over to, where did I see this? I'm just getting the years right. I know this, but 2004, Glenmorangie was purchased by Louis Vuitton Moet Hennessy. So Ardbeg went with that. Nowadays, it seems like the Glenmorangie leadership, Dr. Bill Lumsden, and some others do have kind of a bigger hand in this Ardbeg. And I think the other thing that's interesting of note is that Ardbeg of old, before Glenmorangie started making some changes. Now, this is talking before I ever drank a glass of whiskey, pretty much before I was born, was known for this really big, bold flavor. But it's a very small distillery, still only is running 2 pot stills, and there was a lot of batch variation, a lot of different kind of changes, and it was very, not rough, but just, it was kind of whiskey that grab you by the, by the collar and knock you around a bit. Glenmorangie, which is a company that prides itself on quality and maybe a little bit more cohesiveness, batch to batch, has made some changes. So this might not be as big and bold and brash and island whiskey as it once was, but it's still a big, high quality bang for your buck. With that being said, I am now finding more companies that are either newer or just smaller and not as well known that I probably do enjoy a little better. But of those big 3, and we have all of their core range products, in Lagavulin, we have both their 16 and the 8 and one other. We probably will have 16 around now that the price is down, and maybe we could actually someday afford a full-size bottle again. But maybe not. We're not that tied to it. Lefroy, I could live, and I just did a review. I could live, or I could live without another Lefroy. I might try something else someday and buy a couple of their other products. I would love to get a 10 cask strength, but within reason, the Ardbeg 10 is probably one of my perma-shelfs. Maybe perma-shelf B. All right, I don't, if I finish this bottle tonight, I'm not running to the store and grabbing it tomorrow, for many reasons. But I would like to. I like to have this one around because it's just my preferred of those 3. Interesting to note in terms of the lovely Michelle, she does like Lagavulin 16, and she likes the Lagavulin 8. Don't know that she swings. You're not so good on the Lefroy, right? And Ardbeg, I don't think you've ever liked, right? And part of the reason for that, I think, would be that Lagavulin does have a bigger sherry component in there, which I think does kind of marry, and I don't want to say sweeten, because Michelle drinks some whiskeys that are very, she doesn't need that, you know what I mean? She drinks good whiskey and challenging whiskey, but maybe just that flavor profile, a little bit of added, a little bit hyped up sherry note, meaning that you're using some ex-bourbon and some sherry. Maybe that's why she likes that. For me, I don't get a lot of sherry in the regular Ardbeg 10. There might be some element of it that is an ex-sherry cask. And just again, I want to explain that really quickly one more time, in case you're understanding. When we say single malt Scotch whiskey, all that is telling us it's coming from one location. It's aged for 3 years, legally. And finally, that, where I lost the thing, it's all 100% malted barley, okay? What I'm talking about here is then the next step is where we, even with something that's called single, okay, we are getting a batch made, meaning they have their distillate and they age it in ex-bourbon casks. Then they have some distillate that they age it for in some sherry casks. If 10 is on the label, both of those casks, let's say there's a third one, it's in port or whatever, all of that aging has to either then before or after the blending or marrying of those has to be 10 years. Okay, so they could age all of these separately for 10 years, blend them, put it in the bottle in 10 minutes, okay? They could do 5 in each of these, then put it together into another sherry cask, another some kind of cask, and go for another. But it's got to be, nothing in there can be less than aged for 10 years, okay? That's how it works. In the Ardbeg, I don't see that big of combination. Even Lafroig, I think, has a little bit bigger mix of ex-bourbon cask to ex-sherry cask. There you go. I've bored you enough. Ardbeg 10. Oh, I wanted to read one other thing because I was reading, I can't remember the guy's name. Right now I'm going to attribute him. I'll put it in the notes. His description is a really great book I've been reading lately. Soot. That's what comes at you. A chimney being swept, but there's a citric edge. It is a grapefruit. Then there's dulce, local seaweed on the rocks, a burst of violet, then banana, wild garlic in the spring woods. Ardbeg's new make is a balancing act between the smoke and the sweet, peaty, soft, suit and fruit. The smell is with you all the way through the distillery. It's built into the bricks. But what of the sweet element? Go to the still house. Now, that was talking about new make, meaning unaged. We're talking about something that's 10 years. You will get some sweet notes on there. The peat does not overpower you, but there definitely is some wet moss, a little bit of what I call mustard seed. I don't know why, but I don't get a lot of descriptions of mustard from people who are reviewing that are from Scotland. I don't know if it's we have a different thing. I don't know. I'm sure they eat mustard. But both mustard seed and actually mustard green is in here a little bit. But there is a sweet element. It's not overpowering. This, by the way, is bottled at, I believe, 46%. No nasal burn for me, but I've been doing this a while. Your nasal passages may vary on the taste. It's very interesting because I haven't gone deep on Ardbeg in a while. And I haven't had that good of a taste in a while, meaning have it and holding it. I gotta get another one. A little of that moss is there. There is a sweet element to it. It does kind of give me an ex-bourbon finish. But then in the mid-palate, then all of a sudden, much more... it starts off with more like wintergreen and minty flavors, and then as it kind of goes back, then it gets into maybe eucalyptus, maybe a little bit of some darker, again, seaweed flavors. That's what really pops in. It's always got smoke in there, though. Spent matches. But it's not as medicinal or that kind of thing. Iodine, it's not, to me, to my palate, not as much as Lafroig. The finish is crisp, surprisingly crisp, not dull, not a lot of leather note on there, although maybe there's a little bit. And, well, that's just really nice all the way through. A little bit of sweet, lots of peat, both some kind of brighter green flavors and some more dark seaweedy flavors. And I have to give something up to Michelle, who's kind of listening in us on this. And we've been so busy we hardly say this. I have to say that I am so happy that my wife has given me the affinity for the other greens. That maybe even when I first started drinking this, all I really had was like seaweed and spinach as my, and lettuce. And now that I know more about all the other ones and enjoy them, I can pull those out of here. Yeah. I don't know the differences in a mustard green and a collard green, but that's the kind of little note that's in the end of that taste. Finish is wonderful. This is just rock solid. I'm going to give this Ardbeg 10. No, let me hold off a little bit on the rating. I can't remember what I rated the other stuff, but for me, just head-to-head against Lafroig 10, I'll have this any day of the week. Really tasty. And like I said, this bottle's been around a while. This is non-chill filtered. They don't say anything about color. But the interesting thing about Ardbeg is they do the green bottles on this. Okay. But as you can see here, this is as pale as it's supposed to be. That means it's just getting that yellow color from the aging. And if they are adding color, I don't know where they put it because it's very pale, and that's the color of that we're supposed to be seeing in whiskey. If it's too bright, if you're drinking something that isn't marked as a sherry bomb or isn't known as a sherry bomb, and it's starting to look red, something might be added. Ardbeg 10 is great. Let's talk about the Wee Beastie. Okay, it's a funny name. You can see here. Okay, they talk about monster stuff and all kinds of things. This is one that came well after the Glenmorangie kind of effect. If you look at Glenmorangie whiskey, they are doing a lot of crazy, kooky things with branding. And I think maybe 15 years ago, 20 years ago, while Glenmorangie owned it at the time, I don't think you would see any kind of oddball things like this. Now Ardbeg is all about the oddball thing, and they have and they have all these different kind of names. If you look up in the price tag, they also have the d&aW, which might be, if I'm buying another Ardbeg and it's not 10 someday, that might be one, and the Koreveken, which might be Koreveken, d&aW, whatever. Those, I guess, do some different things with sherry, more sherry influence. The Wee Beastie, again, I've mentioned this. This Wee Beastie was, I think, there, or maybe it was, no, I know it wasn't early. That is a response to the Lagavulin 8. Lagavulin had their stately 16 for years and years and years, and then with kind of the younger crowd, if you will, the taste for peated whiskey that wasn't so refined and so not so, you're sitting in your study with your leather patches and stroking your beard and putting on your spectacles. There was something that was just kind of an ass kicker, I'll just be honest. And one of the ways to do that is just to, hey, put something out that's younger, because the cask does mellow the peat vibe and the smoke vibe a little bit. So I can't remember all the companies, but a couple other companies came out with peated whiskey with no age statement or a low age statement. All right. The Wee Beastie came out, and I remember getting it. It's an interesting one. And again, my tastes have changed now. I remember this just blowing my mind in this weirdness before, and now I'm having it again. I had it last night. My notes last night were ashy peat, some green notes, and tar. Burnt chocolate on the taste, pine and brine. I like that little rhyme of pine and brine. Sherry cask gives some more depth. Bourbon cask adds some more sweetness. Finish was ashy with a touch of grassiness. Medium, not as much tar and smoke as the nose suggests. And yes, on the nose, you'd almost think that this is a different distillery. So it must be something in the blend of, are they using ex-sherry? Are they older ex-sherry casks they're giving this? Are they older ex-bourbon casks that are giving this, like more driftwood, more dark chocolate, more tar, more tobacco notes? Wet autumnal leaves, not a dewy, rainstorm with leaves that are still, on the tree. Dark chocolate, unsweetened though. On the taste, I already told you all those tasting notes. More tar than the Ardbeg, more tobacco, and a little bit of a winey flavor. That just tells me that there must be some more sherry in this blend. This is also non-chill filtered. This is bottled at 47.4, and this is actually a cheaper product than the 10. Okay, it's the age statement, obviously, but it is a high proof or higher proof for that price range. This one is still falling in the 50 some range, if I'm not mistaken. Ardbeg has crept up, actually a little high for a 10 these days. It used to be you could get Lagavulin, sorry, Laphroaig 10 for under 60. Ardbeg was one of those many whiskeys that was falling right there, 10 years, $60. It's gone up now. It's probably more in the 70, maybe even a little higher range. They also got a lot more popular. There's also feeling that this is another thing. If this is what was considered their core range and they didn't have anything like less expensive than this, then they come out with this. They might have stocks enough to with sherry and ex-bourbon where they give you a 5-year-old so they can get it out quicker. This is cheaper than the other ones, and then they could raise this one up a couple of years. They talk about cracked black pepper here. It's there. Sappy pine resin, that's there. The tasting notes are really, really good. And I've noticed that with the Ardbeg and Glenmorangie, they tend to be a little weird with some of their labeling, especially now with the rebranding of the Glenmorangie box, which I can't stand. They should go back to the old one. I'm not trying to buy some weird, stupid Target wine, and that's what a lot of their bottling looks like these days. But I noticed in both that their tasting notes have a tendency to be pretty darn good, which leads me to think that maybe they give it, they might give it to that job, the 3 or 4 people that are actually tasting it, and they kind of pile it to put it together to get a consensus. I do like the Wee Beastie. The name, but they make it like this is a mind blower, and you're going to think you're just getting a high peated ppm, and this is a really, really smoky whiskey. I don't actually think that's true. And actually, a Wee Beastie is not really talking about some kind of monster or even some kind of weird Scottish troll. A Wee Beastie is usually, from what I read, again, don't know that much about it, but that this is usually talking about little bugs like the midge and other things like that. That's what a Wee Beastie is. I enjoy this, and if you're looking to get into some kind of wild and dark and really leathery, if you're looking to experiment and you don't want to spend a lot of money, Ardbeg Wee Beastie is wonderful. I probably won't buy another one of these unless I would see it on sale or something like that. Probably this is one and done for me because I have other things that taste more interesting. And yeah, I don't know that I would buy it again, but it's tasty. It's weird. It just has a lot of tar notes in there. I didn't really try it with a drop of water. Let me do that as I talk to you. So that's the Ardbeg line that I have. There are plenty others. And they do all manner of things. I don't always understand. That's the only thing with them. I don't always understand what it is that they're doing different with these different bottlings, but they're interesting. I do know that the Scotch test dummies really like the Ugadal, which is a no-age statement, which I guess is, but it's a higher ABV. And yeah, I don't see a lot of coloring being added to this. They're bottling non-chill filtered. So yeah, this is, like I said, if you're going to make a decision and you want this is not the best peated whiskey that I have. It's not even the best peated 10 for my money. But if you want the most exemplary of when somebody says peated whiskey and you're like, Scorza, spare no expense, just give me what is the definition of peated whiskey. People will fight me on that and say, no, it's a Lagavulin 16. I'm going to say it's Ardbeg 10. And I'll also save you $30. Maybe only 25 these days. I don't know. Wee Beastie with water. Don't need to add water to that. That kind of made it very tame. I'm going to have one more sip of the Ardbeg 10. Actually, let me get a little water. And then I'll shut this down. Yeah, Ardbeg 10. It's gonna. I think next one we're going to talk about will probably be another twofer. I'm going to talk about. We've talked about Lecheg, which is another smaller distillery, and I gave you one that was mostly ex-bourbon, and then one that was heavier sherry. Next one I think I'm going to do is Kilchoman, a newer distillery, a grain to glass distillery on Isla. They really push that quality thing, and like a couple of the companies that are younger, they're giving you a higher quality, and the place we're missing out is there's no age statement on there. When I was first getting into whiskey and I was just kind of listening to everyone talk, that was no age statement stuff was kind of like, oh, okay, they're not telling us. And now my influences and all these greats are maybe starting to break from that a little bit. There's still some people that are just like, no age statement on there. I don't buy it. But we'll talk about that. That Kilchoman, they do a nice quality product. I'm going to give you one that is primarily bourbon cast with a little sherry, and then I'm going to talk about another one that is more on the sherry side. Really fascinating distillery that gives you all the information on the box, and then on the website you know exactly what you're drinking there. Very interesting. If you were wondering about other things, I think we're going to wrap up with what I'm going to do is we still have to talk about Lagavulin. We're going to talk about Ardbeg. We're going to talk about a couple other ones that I'm blanking. We're going to talk about Bunnahabhain, who's Bunnahabhain 12, one of my top 5 all-time just great, excellent whiskey. They have a peated version. We're going to talk about that, and we're going to talk about some of the oddballs. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of finish this whole peat story with taking the 10s that I have, the 10-year-old, so this one will be included, and putting them together and maybe giving you ones that, maybe giving you the one that I prefer in the 10-year category. And again, that's going to be interesting because it's going to include some ones that I might think might even be better. But we'll talk about it. All right. Have fun with this. Check it out. See if you can get yourself a peated whiskey so far. I'm going to say, as of right now, you want to spend $70 to $75. Ardbeg 10 is a good choice. If you want to get cheaper and get in the $50 range, right now I'm going to tell you check out Ardbeg, and their different varieties. And if you want to look for something in between, check out Bruichlotti's Port Charlotte 10, which I have not talked about. There you go. Okay, I might even lay a little bit of a plan, but we are getting now to the 22nd, so I got to crank a few more out and get it covered because I know we are all waiting for bated breath for all the coverage on all these peated whiskeys. All right, folks, this is fun. Have a good one, and I'll see you around soon. I'm going to go curl up with a little bit more Ardbeg 10, read this book, and I don't know what's on the menu. Maybe it would be some collard greens or something. Oh, God, I love it. I love it. Try something new.